Hola, mis amores. So we thought we would do a video about what we are most worried about and our fears for our first day as new grads, which is tomorrow.
We just wanted to make a quick video talking about this, but earlier today we went to kind of explore like downtown where we live, and we went to go eat at this like new restaurant that we heard was really good and tried out a new like coffee shop. So we'll include clips of that.
I don't know if you can tell, but my eyes are like watering from how cold it is. I know.
It's so cold.
I know, we're taking a walk because we want to go get breakfast with some coffee. And we were just like, oh, let's just like walk there.
It's like a 15-minute walk and we're like 2 minutes in and it's already pretty bad.
We're gonna do it though, we're gonna push through.
Okay, so my biggest worry is time management, and that was just something that I always really struggled with in nursing school and kind of just any like aspect of my life. I'm just not really good at managing my time, and luckily like I had her during nursing school to help me out with those things, but I obviously like can't just go to her when I'm working and asking her like how to prioritize like my patient needs and everything that I have to get done. But I think that that's definitely something that a lot of new nurses struggle with, is time management. And I think that with time I'll get better at it, but I feel like it might take me longer than most people. So I really just hope that it doesn't end up affecting how I progress throughout like my orientation. And then my next biggest worry is giving meds. And I know this kind of sounds a little irrational, but I'm just so scared to give the wrong medication. And it's not even PO med, IM, sub-Q, or like NG2 meds. It's literally IV meds. The reason that I'm so scared to give IV med specifically is because giving an IV med is obviously the fastest way that the body absorbs the drug. So I'm just scared that I'm gonna give it and then my patient's immediately gonna be showing a negative reaction to the medication I just gave. And also, I think especially in the ICU, the patient has so many lines like sticking every which way out of their body that sometimes I don't necessarily know like where I can give a medication or if it's compatible with another medication that was already like previously in that line. So I'm just a little scared about that and harming my patient in any way, because that's obviously like not my intention at all.
Yeah, and I feel like as new grad nurses, we're also like, especially when you're more like acclimated to your unit, you know what kind of drugs you're giving like constantly. So you're more used to it. Like, you know the side effects, you know what they do, you know like the route and like all this stuff. And it's like all this new information that it can feel a little bit overwhelming as well. So a big fear that I have is not catching something important, and that could be me not catching like a new murmur that my patient developed. So from like the past previous shift, and like my nurse, everything was fine, but then suddenly like, there's a new murmur because of like whatever heart disease they have, like that exacerbated the issue, and me not catching it, and then like my patient getting worse because of this. And so I just think that it's just very scary to think that you have like this person's life in your hands.
So my next biggest worry is having a negative work environment. And I feel that I've worked in a hospital long enough to see the negative effects that it does have on a floor unit when team members just come in with a bad attitude and they don't have that teamwork mindset.
But just like being professional, or like showing up and having like knowing what everyone's role is, and like that it is like such a hard job physically and like mentally, and like kind of being able to lean on your like coworkers is so important, which brings me a little like my thing too though, because I feel like for her, she's like very professional, like she goes in and does her like job and doesn't need everyone to like her. But for me, I am very much the person who like wants to be liked by everyone and have like a good relationship with my coworkers. And one of my big worries is that my preceptor does not like me or for whatever reason. And it's just like scary because I do want to be liked, and the person who's teaching you and the person who's going to be there to kind of like show you the world of a new grad nurse not liking you can be so like disheartening and also very like negative to your like mental health, and it's already very fragile. So I can't even imagine with them not liking me. And so I think that's a big worry of mine. But if you don't feel supported by your preceptor or by another nurse or like your team member, then like speak out, you know, like don't be scared to reach out to like higher management or whoever it may be, to just be like, hey, like this preceptorship isn't working. I feel like it would be better if I learned it from someone else who knows my like learning tactics a little bit better, who vibes better with how I learn. And you just have to speak up for yourself, because this is like so important for you to learn now. And if you're afraid to ask questions, if you're afraid to like take those moments to like learn because you're so worried about like being dismissed or judged or wherever it may be, then it's not going to be productive to you being a good nurse.
So my next thing is talking to doctors or RTs or just honestly anyone that's part of the interprofessional team of the patient. I feel like so scared just talking to people because I don't want to give them the wrong information or not give them the information that they need. That's really important, and I don't have the answers.
And then for me, like another worry that I have is like having a doctor ask me what I think about a certain treatment plan for the patient, or ask my opinion about whatever like drug they prescribe for the patient. And I don't want that. I just don't want to have that kind of responsibility on my shoulders, just because I feel like I am going to be learning as a new nurse how the protocols and like all of this new stuff, and having someone like question me about like plans is just so nerve-wracking.
The next thing for me is EKGs. During nursing school, we only had to learn like a certain amount of dysrhythmias. So I feel that there's like so many that we didn't get to learn during nursing school that we're expected to know on the floor. So I'm just scared to like jump into that because there's just so much to know about it. And honestly, to me, it looks like a bunch of just squiggles on the monitor. Like I seriously cannot tell like anything apart. There's just so much learning that goes behind that, and like continuously learning. And I feel that you're not gonna get it until you visually see it on your patient. Being able to like recognize it and pick it up and know how to respond to that dysrhythmia. So I'm a little nervous about that, but I know we have classes on that. So I'm just hoping to like really learn as much as I can and I guess practice it more on the floor. But I just know I'm not gonna be able to identify those arrhythmias instantly or in the first couple of weeks or months. So I think that I'm just gonna have to learn as much as I can as I go and just ask for help if I don't know or recognize something that I might think that is like abnormal for that patient.
Especially like for us, since we are working in like the cardiovascular like ICU, it is something that is so like pertinent to our job. It is something that is going to be constantly coming up over and over. So it is something that is like scary to see when you're first starting out because you aren't an expert in it. But then like, since it is going to be something that we're going to be seeing over and over again, like hopefully we'll be able to pick it up and like have that reinforced throughout our like learning as new grad nurses.
Okay, so the next thing for me that I'm scared of is being in a code. And I think this is a big fear for honestly all new grads. I don't know if there's really any new grads that would be excited or like happy to be in a code, because if you've ever witnessed one, it is so overwhelming and stressful, and everyone is screaming, everyone is like running back and forth. Like I don't have like the capacity to take in everything that is going on around me. So I'm just so scared to be in a code because I don't think that I'll be able to calm myself down long enough to respond appropriately. I think that I'm just gonna start like freaking out with the family.
Yeah.
Just, like I said, everyone's screaming, they're asking you questions.
You have to know those questions right away. You have to know their like lab values. You have to know if they're on full code or not, if they have any allergies.
Or what's like running through the line, again, with like the whole medication fear too as well. All of these questions are gonna be directed towards you, and you need to be able to respond correctly.
And then another one of my fears is being like the worst new nurse there. So that just means for me, like falling behind everyone else and just like being noticeably the most like lacking in something from the new nurses that are starting out in the unit with me. And that includes my sister. And I know she's gonna be better than me. And like, I don't wanna be like the star child of like the unit or whatever, but I don't want to be the worst one there and it'd be like noticeable, and then like my preceptors like notice, and then like everyone else is like, oh well, I don't want to work with her because she's the worst one. And hopefully that isn't something that I have to worry about, but it's just like still like something that's like a fear of mine.
Okay, and the last thing for me is giving report and receiving report, if I'm being completely honest. First of all, receiving report, because I think that when you're like with the other nurse, talking about all these changes or updates that your patient has had like overnight or during the day, I feel that it's just so much information being thrown at me that I sometimes don't know what to write on my report sheet. Like, they're probably talking about the most like kind of random stuff about their history, and that's what I'm writing down instead of their like critical lab values. For some reason, I just can't process like everything that's being said to me. So it's like they're already moved on and I'm still like stuck on
Tonsillectomy when they were 5.
like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and so that's what I'm worried about. Yeah, I think that's a fear of mine, just because I don't want to miss anything important that they're giving me, and I'm just not getting it. And they're like, well, I told you. When exactly? Was that before or after the tonsillectomy? And the second part to that is giving report, because I get a little nervous talking in front of people. And so I feel that when I'm giving report, they're just paying so much attention to what I'm saying. I don't know, I just get nervous and I'm like, did I like give you everything you need? Am I missing something? Like, I just don't know if what I'm telling them is what they want to hear. And I feel like then afterwards, like they might start asking me more questions about the patient because they don't feel that I gave a good enough report, and then I don't know the answer to those questions, and then it makes it seem like I didn't do anything throughout my whole shift, or I didn't know anything about my patient.
And then my last thing for me is dealing with rude patients or rude family members, which unfortunately I don't think this is like a fear. Like, I think this is an actual reality that I'm gonna have to face as a new grad nurse. And even when I was a nursing student, I like saw this in like my clinicals, like towards me and even like towards the nurses. So me having to deal with it in like a professional way is kind of disappointing, I guess, for me, and to know that I'm gonna have to be dealing with that. And for me, I guess the fear is more like how often I'll have to deal with rude patients and rude family members. And I know this is something that's gonna be unavoidable. For me, it's not like having to, if my patient is cold and them asking me to bring them a blanket, or if they're thirsty and asking for water, that isn't like what I consider rude. What I consider rude is like more when they see that I am just coming back from a code and they complain about not having their lunch on time, and it's like 15 minutes late, and like I get that they're hungry, but there's only like so much that I can do as a nurse. Like, I can check if it's coming, or I can check like why it hasn't arrived or anything like that, but I only have so much control over certain things, and then like demanding things that I don't have any control over, or them like seeing that I'm busy with like med pass or whatever it may be, and then them complaining and be like, oh, like my water doesn't have enough ice. Again, like there are certain things, like if they're in pain, if they're cold, whatever, like I'm gonna do what I can to like make them as comfortable as I can. But that being said, like they're in a hospital. They're not in a spa. They're not in like a hotel. Like this isn't like a full service like kind of thing. And it's like, I'm here to like make sure you get healthy. I'm here to make sure you get better. I'm here to make sure you don't die. So the least they can do is just like show some common courtesy and not be demanding about things that shouldn't be a big issue. If I have the time, I'm gonna get you that extra ice, but it's like, if it's not happening right away, it's not because I don't want to do it for you. There is a reason.
Great, I think we're done, right?
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you for watching. I hope that this like makes you feel that you're not alone in your fears, your worries, when you're starting off as a new grad nurse, and that with time everyone will get better, and just like know when to speak up, know when to advocate for yourself, and know that like you're not alone in this, and that every single one of us is experiencing the same thing, and you just have to like take it like one day at a time kind of situation.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, hopefully we can make another video after this in a couple weeks, talking about these like fears and worries that we have, and like how we are learning or handling all of these things.
And like what we have actually experienced, and like what we haven't, and like what you shouldn't have to worry about because it wasn't a big deal. Yeah,
For sure. Worry that we have. I can hear you breathing. Like,
our first day as new grad nurse.
degrading you?
Yeah, okay.
Should have a
Shut the fuck up.
I didn't say anything. Grad?
Which I think is like inevitably, is that a word?
Inevitably?
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 Inevitably.
Inevitably synonym?
Like belittling.
Belittling?
Yeah, if they're constantly like belittling you.
Wait, what?
I literally can't say my L's, I think.
What's wrong with your tag?
I
Hold on. Stop! Okay. You need to be able to You need to be able to no! Wait,
You need to be able to think quick.
quick thing. I said it like 4 times. Oh my god. Okay. quick thing.
Yeah.
Come a little bit this way because you're
Yeah,
like,
well.
okay.
Said it's like an edible.